Welcome to another episode of my Motortown playthrough. Today we are finally on the new update. It's finally time to get into the new content. So my idea for what we are going to do this episode is a delivery from the steel mill to the Terra Factory. Since we didn't have too much to do with the coils and the beams, I think I completely neglected the beams up until this point. That finally changes, so let's get a truck, let's get a trailer, and let's load up some stuff. Since I was part of the testing team for the update, I also got quite a few things done already, so theoretically we could go right to the Terra Factory and grab a vehicle, deliver it to the quarry, but I think it's more fun if we do it in order. Though I'm not entirely sure if I want to make a video on every single delivery here. Containers, fuel and oil, they are kinda common at this point, so I might just skip them and only keep to the more unique stuff. Since up until this point we didn't really have much to do with the stuff that the steel mill produces, this is definitely kind of a highlight right now. And especially loading up the stuff with the forklift. So we might just be spending the entire episode on that, to be honest, but we'll have to see about it. Let me check. If I go for this tech, I should get all the semi-trailers right here. At least the ones that I marked without any of the company stuff. Flanker, that's the one. I might have to tune another flanker in order to get one for these heavy-duty deliveries. This one is actually pretty soft on the springs, but with high ride height because I wanted it for off-road deliveries. But it's worked out so far, so it should be good today as well. So let's get going and see how well we can make this work. So I want enough items for 3 Terras to be produced. So that's going to be 6 H-beam packs and 9 coils. So we'll be spending quite a while here. So, Terra Factory, let's load up everything and strap it all down. So, the truck is already full. The trailer, well, there's going to be a bit more on there. I'm not going to make 2 trips here. It's kind of part of the idea. I've been thinking of maybe using the CUDA flatbed for the truck. Just so that I can maybe also load up some coils on there, but not only is it a 4x2 truck, which might not be ideal for the job, it also has the additional problem of being a bit short, and I'm not entirely sure if anything would fit on there. Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. I knew from the testing that this box was actually moved around. It used to be here, but it was moved all the way over here to the forklift, and now it's back here again. They don't really seem to know where exactly we want this thing to be, but at least it's not right where the coil spawns, because that always meant that you had to get out of forklift in order to get the coil to spawn in. But yeah, we want a few of these for the Terra Factory, and that means that we'll have to get them one by one. So let's get into the forklift here and check it all out. Load up some coils. There's also something that I'm curious how it's going to work now. Okay, that seems to be still working alright. The thing is, a few people have complained over the last few weeks and months that if you hold the LB in order to get to alternate controller inputs, you cannot move the camera around anymore, and that was specifically required for this vehicle here, because right stick and LB is how you move the forklift around. Or the fork on the front, that's what I mean specifically. I mean, you can see it on the right side, what I mean with the inputs. But yeah, that still seems to hold the camera still, which I think is a good thing. I don't know how it's going to work in every other vehicle, but if I remember, we can find out. So let's try and load this on the back. There's always this little compartment, which is just enough to fit a coil here. So once you load on the beams, there's always going to be a bit of space to the back, which I'm going to make good use of. And when I say good use, I mean really good use. We are going to be loading 4 on the back, which might not be the best for weight distribution, but it's going to be a good space to at least get part of the coils that I want to transport today on there. Also always happy to use the forklift. It's such a fun vehicle, and I wish we had more commonly loaded goods for the kind of thing here. Just something that I can get to and do a few loading procedures without it being such a rare item that needs so much work up front in order to be produced. I mean, I've been talking on and off about concrete pipes for quite a while, and I'm kind of stuck on these stupid barrels here. Let me back up a little bit. Having 3 reverse gears is so confusing. I should really get used to going into neutral and then back up to a higher gear from that. I got a button set up for that and I always forget to press it. Yeah, here we get the second coil. Let me just get into neutral, and then I also found out that you can move the forklift up and down much faster if you accelerate, so I'm throttling up in order to get that thing to move a bit better. So much quicker. So here we go. Let's load on the top coil. I might have to turn the trailer around in order to load the other side. I didn't really park it correctly for this maneuver, but that should be easy to remedy. So gotta be a bit careful here at least. I don't want the coil to roll off the back, but it seems to be flat spot on flat spot, so that should really go nowhere. I think they also managed to make it so that the coils don't just slide off the trailer anymore. I had that in the past when trying to load. I always had to jump out the forklift and strap down the coil before it moved too far off the spot where I let it down. So this is going quite a bit smoother. So let's move the truck a little bit more forward so I can load onto the other side. I'll just be blocking off part of the road here, it's fine. Nobody else is around. And then we'll also have to load some stuff onto the front, because otherwise the trailer won't have a great weight distribution. It's gonna be a potential problem. So let's get another coil spawned in. Move the fork back down and put it in like this. Another thing that I didn't talk about too much in the update video, since there were just too many things to talk about. The last update had quite a few popular exploits, and yeah, first up, the meat boxes are now a timed delivery, so waiting around, getting another load and stacking them high as a tower onto a small vehicle isn't really viable anymore. You're going to miss out on most of the payment if you do that. I don't know if it's going to be enough of a fix to that, because there's still a decent base price, so you could theoretically do that, it's going to be worth less than half of what it used to be, but if you do it for long enough, it would still be a lot of money in the end, but also to get the same amount of money would be quite a bit more work. I don't know. It's definitely a fix worth trying. I don't know why the forklift didn't want to lift up again. I want to reposition a little bit here. But yeah, that one at least a worthwhile attempt at fixing. Also, another problem was that people could just go back to the same bus stop over and over without going anywhere else and basically get multiple times the amount of passengers that they should be getting from that one place. Usually a problem with Guangjin, as you could theoretically stick around and load up one of the largest buses in the game. And you're already getting over 200k if you load up a Lilliput, so yeah, was a bit of a problem. That's no longer possible, it seems, so that's another good improvement. And on the front of that shortcut over here, it's still there. It seems very much intended at this point, but they put a lot of rocks in this area, so you're not just gonna get through there that easily anymore, especially not with a large vehicle. So yeah, that's also pretty much fixed right now, and I'm really happy to see it because those exploits and how relevant they were for such a long time kinda got on my nerves. I didn't like opening up Reddit and going to the Motortown sub just to see another person boasting about how high they could stack the meat boxes and stuff like that. So yeah, happy that it got addressed, and hopefully there won't be anything like that happening again for a while. Jesus Christ, that's a tiny bit too far to the front there. But here we go. One thing I wish for the coils was that we actually had to unload them again at the destination. Would be another good job for the forklift here. I love that thing so much, but I just don't get to use it often enough. I made the same suggestion for the Terra Factory, that there should just be another forklift and us having to unload the coils in order to bring them to a location that you cannot reach without the forklift. But yeah, that hasn't happened yet, if it's ever going to happen. There have been a few other things that are supposed to be happening at some point, but once again, so far nothing on them. There's also a few things on the Trello that might still happen with the update in terms of actual content, or more like delivery options at least. So the plantation is supposed to get wheat as a cargo, and also quicklime production is supposed to be a thing. I looked that up before in order to figure out if it has anything to do with limestone. I'm not too sure about that, but it seems to be some sort of fertilizer or something similar, so it might just be a link between the limestone quarry and yeah, the plantation. We'll have to see about that. And yeah, my link here isn't looking too great, so the next coil is going to go onto the front. Let me fully stand this, just to be sure. Also, I might need to get the coil a bit further forward on the fork. Let's see if I can just shake it a little bit. Or I might just, yeah, use the brakes. Accelerate, hit the brakes, and there we go. It's moved a bit more forward, and that should be alright, hopefully. Not really as far as I would like it to be. Would be really helpful if the RAM was either longer or we had an option to extend that as well, although, to be honest, the controls on this thing are complicated enough already. Damn it, this is really not working how I would like it to. Come on, move forward a bit. Yeah, that's much better. Didn't want to go into comfort mode, I want to go into neutral. But yeah, that's what happens sometimes when you have basically almost every button and function on the controller mapped to at least two things, so sometimes you mess things up a little bit. But here we go. That's also bringing down the link key again quite nicely, so this is exactly where that coil needs to be. So there's 4 more to go, which are all going on the back of the trailer, or just on top of the beams to be specific. So here we go. But yeah, overall, when it comes to the update, I've got mixed feelings about it right now, to be honest. I think having the Terra Factory as a whole, it's an amazing thing for the game. It just fits so well with all the supply chains, and having to deliver this stuff in order to get a new vehicle, that's pretty nice. But yeah, the Terra is still kinda underwhelming unless you buy it, and it's not really worth buying, and that's all a bit weird. But yeah, in the end, the one thing I really don't like too much about this is that it's just another tracking update. It's nice loading up the stuff for the Terra Factory, but in the end, a lot of things that we've gotten in terms of things to do are just, yeah, more heavy deliveries. So for the most part, it's just not gonna feel too much different from the activities that we had before. And while I don't mind a lot of the content in this game being based on A to B deliveries, with stuff like the off-road areas, we at least get a different type of experience out of here, while overall I feel like there isn't too much of a difference between delivering this load here, apart from it looking ridiculous, delivering the Terra, because that's also, the loading and unloading is special, because you have to put it on the trailer, get it off again. Same with this one, loading the trailer is just the real new thing here. But just for driving and everything, that's just the same as always, just with a different type of trailer on the back, or different type of load on there. It might be a bit too reductive in terms of how I think of the whole thing, but at the very least I would really like to get a non-tracking update by now. Made another post on the Discord urging for that because, well, it's it's what a few people have been feeling like for a while, so it's not just my own opinion. And I think in the end, this is supposed to be a driving game and not just trucking specific, so I hope something else comes along sooner than later. I might have to put another coil to the front here, so let's pull the trailer back a little bit so I can reach that. I'm not entirely sure if I'll be showing the delivery, because that one is it's not gonna be doing too much. The loading is definitely a bit more special here than driving the stuff to the destination. But if I don't record the delivery, I'll at least make sure to give you guys the show of how it's unloaded. It's not too complicated because it's just getting the stuff to the delivery areas, but since I'm using the dolly combination again, it's going to be a bit more involved than with a rigid truck or semi-truck and trailer. But yeah, I don't want to be too down on the entire trucking thing. I think the stuff that we've gotten right now, apart from maybe the Terra in its current form, should have been added to the game at some point. I just wish we got a few more updates giving love to other aspects of the game in between. Also, from what I've seen, we've basically gotten leads to the next update already. I tried to do the brake maneuver again, but it didn't really turn out too well. So instead of wiggling this around, I might just load it on as normal. Also didn't help that I didn't line up the dolly, so I can't really get close enough to the trailer right now. But I might be able to push the coil a bit further along with my fork. So let's pull it out. Let's move it down a little bit and then move forward once again. Just trying to keep the entire thing from getting lopsided. Okay, one more coil to go and then we should be ready here. If I'm going to do this stuff more often, I really should be getting a heavy duty setup for one of my trailers. This isn't looking amazing at all with how much the suspension is compressing. Yeah, here we go. Last one. And I didn't really need to get out. I think at this point it's just... It's a force of habit already because before they moved the little box to the side, we actually had to get out and I did quite a few deliveries, so... Yeah, it's programmed in. Nothing I can do about it. So here we go, last one. Slightly hit the trailer. So let's pull back, let's get back into neutral and push it forward a little bit. Just like that. Also, I'll likely end up making a few episodes about the depots, because they are interesting. And I made sure during my testing phase here, or doing the CT phase, that I don't set up everything perfectly. I wanted to keep a few things for these episodes. We are also likely going to build a house in Guangjin. Just a regular one to live in, just trying to make something nice for the area. I love that we have gotten quite a few more housing plots. I've been pushing that issue in favor of getting a few more areas to put the depots in. Because with the old stuff it didn't really work out too well. There were quite a few areas where we needed a depot or better access to a plot where we can put a depot on. And it just didn't really happen. So nice that we got the stuff now and that it's all working out. Bit of scraping, that's okay. They still didn't fix the gates here. But yeah, this is a decent load. Not the first time I've done this, so I knew this would be okay. I may have put a few too many coils onto the front here. So Linky isn't exactly happy about it. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that's really fun, just loading the coils on and getting all that going. And I hope we get concrete pipes at some point. They might be about the same length as the coils. There are definitely versions of that that would work like that. And then we could just use the same forklift again and load on a whole lot onto a trailer, maybe even stack them on top quite a bit more. I think that would be really amazing. But yeah, I hope it comes in the future after a few updates regarding cars, racing, taxi driving, tuning, whatever. But we're all gonna have to wait for that. To be clear, I'm just talking about the stuff that I want to see right now. Nothing that I'm talking about is confirmed by any means. But yeah, right now we still have a lot of stuff to be desired about the plantations. Besides the wheat deliveries, or wheat as a cargo and quicklime. There's also, of course, the fact that right now the only destination for the stuff is the harbors, and it's likely going to be its own supply chain at some point. But yeah, I could do without this happening the next update. I know that's basically what they've done between the last and this update. They added the rock crushing plant at the quarry without making it functional up until this point, and now we got the quarry truck, now we got the limestone rocks and all of that. So that's how they kinda led from one update to the next one, maybe even unintentionally. I don't know. They might have tried to put that all in at the same point and just ran out of time. But yeah, I don't really want one tracking update to just be leading to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. Who knows? We'll have to see where it goes from here, but I wouldn't mind them just leaving the plantation as is after maybe adding a few more things in the testing phase and then expanding the whole thing towards the end of the year or something, giving us one or two updates on completely different topics in between. Also, one thing I want to talk about is I made a flowchart for the supply chains a while ago as an option to, or just an attempt at updating my old supply chain video. I've been wanting to wait until we got all the supply chain stuff with the current update in order to give you guys the full view of everything and hopefully having that thing stay up to date for a while longer. Since we are still waiting for the wheat and quicklime stuff from the Trello right now, which is currently in the works, I'll just be waiting with that a bit longer. I'll just update it if we get a bit more stuff and then I make a video on it. I don't want to make a video on the whole thing and then just a week later we get another major addition. Because right now I think I could even just go without the plantation as a whole. Because it's not really a supply chain, it's just one single delivery. The cargo being produced automatically then being delivered to any of the harbors isn't really a supply chain right now. But I'm pretty sure that's where it will be going at some point. We'll just have to wait and see about it. Oh god, oh god. I should maybe get the steering assist on again. What it does is basically if you go over a certain speed, it will limit your steering angle a little bit. Well, right now, if I pull full left, it's going to go full left, and that's not always amazing, especially with a heavily loaded truck and trailer combination, and the trailer being quite top heavy. Uh, okay, we are rolling backwards now, it seems. That's interesting. Let's get the lift axle up to get a bit more traction on the drive wheel and hopefully pull forward again. This was a really bad position to slow down on, even though this isn't even that much of a climb. Yeah, maybe I can soften this out a little bit by going sideways. I should have maybe kept an eye on how heavy the truck is right now, because that might... Yeah, this is definitely a load here that I'm pulling. Yeah, I'm trying to pull a bit sideways, just getting a bit of speed up, getting higher into the rev range, and therefore into the good part of the power band, and yeah, then we should be able to take this. Yeah, now we're going. I could have also helped this by installing a 13-speed transmission, but honestly, for most of the jobs, this is completely fine. And I don't like all the additional shifting, so I would rather struggle a bit here and there and not have to deal with all the unnecessary gears. Because all this thing really needs is one single low gear, and then we should be good to go. But yeah, we are back at speed, gonna be a bit careful here, especially on this road. Thankfully, at some point they moved the rocks a bit further to the outsides on both sides of this path, because this thing used to be very treacherous, but it's still... You gotta be careful. Maybe it's more of a problem in lighter cars that are also going a bit quicker. But I don't want to completely wreck myself here. I also turned off traffic recently because I've been dealing with some really weird frame drops, and especially on the past one or two CT versions and also on the live versions, it's just not really working out too well. Should also refresh my stuff in a moment. You know what, let's let the AI do its thing and yeah, just refresh a few trucks here. Some of these I'm really only running for a little test that I set up. Basically, with one of the last CT versions, I found some issues with running semi-trucks and trailers as company vehicles on servers, and yeah, I just put down a few more trucks and trailers here in order to get some stuff figured out. And let's also go to the depot. Could theoretically make a delivery, but yeah, I'm currently doing other stuff, so let's just refresh them. Doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, this spot, for example, is also one for a depot. I'll likely try to get something similar to what I have on Hoki server, because I really like the setup there. But just replace the large garage with a depot and we should be good to go. Yeah, I don't know why it's not going at 60 FPS right now. I tuned down my graphics settings a bit, and you know what, let me try something real quick. I'm just gonna tap out for a moment, and that's definitely helped a little bit. I minimized the window of my recording software. I usually like having it up, but it has the preview window open, and that's just going to be a bit of a drag on my graphics card, so that's been a bit of a problem. Doesn't help that with Streamlabs, if I turn off the projector or the preview window there, it's also going to turn off all my audio graphs and everything, so I cannot even see if my microphone is working. So it's all just a bit iffy. Almost at the end of the dirt section. But yeah, this thing is just, it's crawling along. So we might have to refuel at the gas station, and then we should be good to go for the last leg of the journey. I'm just going to include this whole thing in the video. If you don't like it, you can skip it. But yeah, for those who want to see the full delivery and how much I'm struggling with this load, I mean, especially since I've already had a problem going uphill in that one area, I think it's nice to include it. There also one thing that I've been excited about since it got fixed recently is the rotator. Should be much more stable now, so we could theoretically do some cool stuff with it now. We'll have to see how well it works in practicality, but in practice, but at least in theory, it should be a bit better now, which I've been waiting for quite a while. The rotator is pretty amazing, but it needs to work in order for it to be useful, obviously. But yeah, I might also include an episode just working in the quarry using the Terra. Since we got the upgrades now, it's been a bit better. I still don't like the stock version. I even went as far as using my rotator on the Terra in testing, and just basically hooking up the Terra as if it was a trailer and hauling it like that. That's how we found out that we need to fix the rotator, so yeah. But at least with the upgraded one, I feel that it's worthwhile using it yourself. And not in a weird way, just how it was intended. So we might do it at some point. There's another truck coming my way. That must be the tanker. So the thing is, before we got to the live version, there were a few problems where in multiplayer the trucks would spawn without the trailer attached. Basically just the trailer sitting on the back of the truck. And once that got fixed in single player with the update afterwards, the trucks would just disconnect from the trailer if you got too close to them. Thankfully that all got addressed before we went to the live version, because that would have not been a good state of things for the wider release. But these are all the bugs that happened just very close to the release, and nothing to really even mention the problems that we had using the new engine update. Like all the stuff it broke once Unreal Engine 5.5 was introduced to the game here. Jesus Christ. I think the worst single thing was that vehicles would suddenly just randomly collide with the ground without there being anything. So especially if you go onto harsher off-road areas or hit a pothole the wrong way, it would just be as if you hit one of the old flower banks head on and would completely wreck you, fling you off into a random direction, and it's just all pain and suffering. So I'm glad that all of that got fixed. But yeah, at the end of the day, the updates when they come out, they are usually not really perfect or anything, and they don't always get there before the dev moves on to the next thing. Stuff will still get addressed afterwards at some point, potentially, but yeah. It's just when the first version of the update comes out for the private testing, there's a lot of things, and a lot of things get fixed in between. So if you see a bug, don't be surprised that it didn't get addressed during testing. It might not even be that anybody overlooked it, but the testing phase is intense. Both on the amount of bugs that are getting discovered and attempted to fix, but also just all the work the devs put in. So yeah, it's not like everybody is sleeping on the job and that's why stuff doesn't come out perfectly. It's just that it's a lot happening behind the scenes up until we get to the state where everybody is supposed to be able to get into the new update. Okay, we are almost done here. Yeah, thankfully the Terra Factory isn't really in a difficult location to reach. It's not even that far away from the steel mill, which is nice. I think it's a really good location overall. You have Dessa somewhat nearby if you wanna make a short trip for the containers, even though it seems like the containers don't spawn all that often. Also, of course, the oil refinery. But there's a nice long trip to be done from the plastic factory on Jeju. And I might have to check what options are available for that trip. I would like to get, I think, 6 pallets of plastics, which would be once again enough for 3 terras if I'm not mistaken. And I would like to do that with a fast vehicle if I can. So we might look into that the next time around. Yeah, I've been playing a lot on servers as well, somewhat recently. Been playing a bit on the CT server, which of course I cannot record on, but also a few other communities here and there before we got into the private testing phase. It's amazing what the kind of difference is between single player and multiplayer. Nice seeing other people on the road, nice having a few things that you didn't need to take care of, but there's also a lot of cases where you go to a factory, you might even do a supply run for it, and when you come back next day, it's just empty again, and you had really nothing from your efforts. So in this world, I have much more control because I'm the only one playing, and therefore I know um, likely what's going to be full, what's going to be empty, or I can just send out an AI vehicle for a resupply run. But yeah, in multiplayer, it's really not a given with anything. which is also kind of cool. It's definitely more alive. Okay, time to make the final delivery. I think I want to unload the coils first, so we are going to the place up ahead. If I unload the other stuff first, the coils are going to be floating, and if I unload my truck first, I might not have enough traction to pull the trailer anymore. But yeah, this is where I would love the requirement to use the forklift again. I might have to bump up the threat on that again. I mean, on something like the Anson race car factory deliveries, we could actually maybe even use the rotator or something to unload. That would also be a nice option. Since I don't think something like that would necessarily have such a forklift. Okay, nice and slow. Trying to straighten out the Linky now, which didn't really work. Delivered a single coil, nice. Okay, now we are looking pretty good here. So that's about 82k for all the coins plus the bonus from total payment or whatever, plus the town bonus. So yeah, quite a bit of money for that, which is nice. I need to build up my money again. I still need to buy a few properties, get a few depots constructed and all of that. So there's gonna be quite a bit of investment still. I bought all the company slots in testing. So yeah, already invested quite a bit of money there, but need to get more. Need to get more stuff. And to properly integrate all the depots into the truck and bus routes, it's gonna be quite a job from here still. Uh, 22k from the beams, that's really not amazing. We got another 2 in the truck though, so let's go and get that unloaded. So that's another 11k plus town bonus, so we're looking pretty good here. Feels so much... It feels liberating driving the truck without a load now. It's so much more nimble, of course, because, I mean, all the stuff was heavy as hell, so... Yeah. Unloading here definitely helped. Let's just go and despawn the stuff. Might just do it in here. And that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time for some plastic pallet deliveries. Yeah, that one. Let me just quickly check before we end this. We are going to need 2 plastic pallets per truck, so that's going to be 6 pallets in total. I'll see if I can come up with a more interesting option than the obvious one. But until then, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, have a good one, and bye bye.